Welcome to Podcast Like It's the 2000s, the podcast where we talk about the films of the aughts here from our perch in 2025. I'm one of your hosts, Phyllis Go.
I am your other host, Emily St. James, and a fun fact about me is that a demon's been chasing me since I was 5. I haven't let it get me yet, but it did take out some random guy in San Diego that I was in a relationship with.
Well, I mean,
This
listen,
is a movie about never dating someone from San Diego. I said that on
I
Letterboxd,
think
but
that feels right. I mean, I've
I
only
saw
been
your
to San
letterbox
Diego
review.
for Comic-Con, so I can't speak to San Diego as a place that's good or bad,
it's
really.
fine.
Okay.
Two of my very best friends live down there,
Okay, well, all
and
right,
so like I feel like I'm insulting them, but also I'm not. You
whatever.
know, they're
Yeah,
married. They're
they're
not
big people.
dating. They got
They're
married
grown-ups.
outside of San Diego and then
Okay.
moved there. So
So, with us today to end a two-part Halloween miniseries is the author of Horror for Weenies, Emily Hughes. Thank you for joining us, Emily.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I am thrilled to be here. I am thrilled to be talking about this movie because I have a lot of thoughts.
Great. I mean, this was so as Emily Hughes and I were discussing prior to hopping on mic. I never saw this movie. Now, Emily St. James obviously knows that your book speaks to me because I was a big weenie for quite some time. Until I realized that most horror movies aren't that scary, but they're also not that scary in the comforts of your own home. I think that one of my big issues is horror movies when I'm trapped in a movie theater with them and I don't know what's coming and I can't pause or go to the bathroom or what have you. Um, like Weapons, for instance, was a movie I needed to do some reconnaissance on before I actually sat down in the theater to see it, for instance.
the experience of seeing Paranormal Activity in a theater
Must have
and
been
the
amazing.
experience of seeing it at home
Yeah,
cannot be like the only movie I can think of that
yeah,
is as different. This is hyperbole, but it's not
sure.
too. It's Gravity. Watching Gravity at home, you're kind of like, yeah, that's fine. In the theater, it felt like you had seen the face of God. Paranormal
Yes, and he
Activity
was mad
is,
at you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Paranormal Activity is not that drastic a split. Like you still can get a little contact high scare from it at home, but in the theater, like on the all that footage blown up big and like staring at the
Yeah.
black in their bedroom door, like there was really nothing like it. I think this movie is fine, but in the
Yeah.
theater, it's kind of a transcendent experience.
Well, I'll just say that my issue with movies of this ilk is the handheld camera stuff. When I saw Cloverfield in theaters, I almost threw up. Like I genuinely can't handle that. All that shaky on a giant screen might have been too much for me. But your point, Emily, is the locked off stuff, the sort of security footage, night footage stuff must have looked phenomenal on the big screen.
Yeah, and the sequels actually go slightly further in terms of like the second film is all from like surveillance cameras, so it's all kind of
Okay.
locked down. Like
Okay.
it's an interesting franchise because it starts very indebted to other found footage, and then like it very quickly becomes like we're going to kind of play around with the vocabulary, and some of these movies, to be clear, are atrocious, but all of them are
Right.
like trying things within the found footage grammar. The last one's about the Amish. I've never seen it.
So, okay. Just to talk about this franchise very quickly, have you seen Emily Hughes? Have you seen any of the other paranormal activities in this franchise?
So no,
Okay.
and I had actually never seen this one until this week.
Yes.
There you go. So this movie, similar to a movie we talked about many years ago, Emily, The Blair Witch Project,
Yes.
was just a staggering sort of profit over investment. This movie cost a little over $200,000, give or take, and it made like 300 million or some insane number. Obviously diminishing returns as the franchise progresses, but they continue to just not cost very much for obvious reasons. They just don't make as much back. But I didn't know. So Christopher Landon really cuts his teeth in this franchise. Christopher Landon, who would go on to do Happy Death Day, is that him as well?
The Happy Death Days. Yeah.
And then recently did Drop. And has something else in the hopper and was going to do the Scream movie, but then left the Scream. Lots of drama on that Scream movie, um, but Oren Peli, I believe that's how you say his name.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Um, is the writer director of this film, who obviously continues to cash checks. Passive payments are the best kind of payments. Um, but
That
yeah, has nothing to do with this franchise from this point on.
he's also involved in Insidious, right? Like that man
Yes. And he's
is
a
this.
producer on all
Yeah,
of
that,
them.
I mean, obviously, like I do think his skills are. This film as directed is fine. The
Mm-hmm.
story setup is fine. I think his skills as a producer are kind of unmatched. Like
Sure.
the original cut of this, which they heavily revamped the ending. That's where a lot of the budget comes from.
Yes. Yes.
The original cut of this was 15K, and like you can tell, but you kind of can't tell because like how well the aesthetics like
Uh-huh.
contribute to the feel of the film. Yeah, I don't know. I
And
do
he used
feel
his own house.
yeah.
His own ugly ass house.
His
Sorry,
own ugly
Oren.
ass
No,
house.
It's
He
hideous.
did some renovations. He put like apparently the banister up the stairs, that there wasn't like an actual banister, which I think is insane. Who walks upstairs? There's some sort of a
that's San
railing.
Diego for you.
Can't have
So
anything to
Emily,
hold on to when the big one finally hits, you know?
here's my question for you. Did you see the play Paranormal Activity? Have you seen the play?
No, no. I
I would
like
love to know what the play is about.
I got
I mean, I
so
know what it's about, but I mean,
I got so burned out on this franchise.
hmm.
I
Did you
never
see them all?
no, I saw the first four. The first three are all
Okay.
varying degrees of good. Three has an argument of being the best found footage movie. Not that's not the Blair Witch.
Wow.
Like it's
Okay.
fantastic.
Okay.
Four, which is from the same directors as three,
Yes, it
is
is.
is a huge mess. And just like
Okay.
tries the problem with this franchise is you would not know it from watching this movie, but they introduce so much lore. By the fifth movie, they're time traveling. And when I found that out, I was like, I don't need to see that.
Well, I mean,
Um,
once you get into subtitles, I think is when ultimately this. I mean, you've got Paranormal 5 is called
mhm.
the Marked Ones,
Yeah.
6 the Ghost Dimension, and 7 Next of Kin.
Next of Kin, my understanding, I haven't seen it. I'm thinking about watching all of them. I just am thinking
Yeah, I
about
mean,
doing
might
it.
as well.
Next
Yeah.
of Kin, I guess, is a reboot and has nothing to do with the first six outside of like very small connections. The
Interesting.
thing is,
Okay.
the lore kicks in right away. Film two is like, we're going to build up this enormous like family backstory. Katie had a
Okay.
sister. And gradually,
Okay.
like the reveal is Phil, do you care? Do either of you care if I spoil you on the
Oh my
deeper
God.
lore of the
Go
Paranormal
deep.
Activity
Go
franchise?
for it, Emily.
So, Katie and her sister Christy, that's
Yes.
swirling characters. That's a bad move on a screenwriter's part. But you know what?
Right.
It's okay.
Okay.
They, when they were kids, they like got in contact with this demon
Okay.
who they call Toby, who's probably like the demon Tobit, who's like an actual like being from like Jewish folklore.
Oh.
And
Through like a Ouija board or some
I
sort
think, yeah, it's been a
of. Okay.
while since I've seen the third one, but it is
Okay.
because the third one is a flashback to the 80s, is shot on camcorders. It's wonderful. Like,
Okay.
it has
That
some of
sounds
the
dope.
smartest,
Okay.
found footage stuff. But anyway, these two sisters get in touch with this demon and like slowly starts like invading their lives.
Okay.
Film two is like both a prequel to this one and a sequel. It
Okay.
involves her sister, the demon first trying to get her sister because you find out in film three, they found the tapes of what happens in film three, but you don't find that out until film three. And so, like, the
So
demon
three's
tries to,
doing a Godfather Part 2
yeah,
situation.
the demon tries to take over the sister's family, and her husband knows just enough, like magic, to be
Uh-huh.
like, okay, I'm going to send this demon somewhere else, which is how it goes to Katie and how this film kicks off. And then the end of two is Katie comes and kills them and steals their son. And then the fourth one like gets caught up with that. Again, the fifth one involves time travel, so you get to see Mika die, which I think one of the smart things about this movie is you don't see him die.
Yeah, you don't need to see it.
And the sixth one
Much as
is in
you'd like
3D.
to.
Yeah.
That's fair. It's interesting that I mean, notoriously Mika and Katie were grossly underpaid for this
Yeah.
film.
It's like
They like
$500. Yeah.
$500 or something like that. They
Yeah.
obviously, when this film became hugely successful, they were obviously compensated, and we don't know, to some degree they were compensated. And then it seems as though they're in future films where I'm assuming they got paid properly. But I
Yeah.
mean,
Katie is like the face of the franchise.
Yeah.
She's like the villain, which I always feel bad about. Every time I watch this movie, I remember that she's like a very nice person.
She's
Yeah,
lovely in this
she's
movie.
very
Yeah.
chill.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she's dating that fucking guy.
Yeah. He kind
Yeah.
of sucks.
And granted, like she gets possessed by a demon,
She
which
does.
is mostly his fault.
Yes.
Like
Yeah. He's the one that starts up with the Ouija board shit. I mean,
he's
he
like, I'm
pokes
gonna
the
put this
bear.
camera
Provoking it.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah. He does not get the demon to sign a release form, so the
He does
demon is
not.
like
The demon's like, fuck
upset.
this.
Um,
So
yeah.
I do want to give a little bit of context for people that might not have seen Paranormal Activity. Soon after moving into a suburban tract home, Katie, played by Katie Featherston, and Mika, played by Mika Slott, become increasingly disturbed by what appears to be a supernatural presence. Hoping to capture evidence of it on film, they set up video cameras in the house, but are not prepared for the terrifying events that follow. Paranormal Activity opened on September 25th, 2009, against Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, Surrogates, the Fame remake, The Informant, and Whip It. Whip It, good movie. I kind of remember liking Whip It.
I had a good time with it.
I
Yeah.
watched that in the deep of the pandemic with a
Oh,
bunch
okay.
of other trans people,
Sure.
and it was great. We had a good
Yeah.
time.
It's a fun
It was
movie.
in celebration of Elliot Page. That was right after,
Understandably,
shortly
sure.
after he'd come out. I think I don't
I
remember when he
think
came
so.
out, but yeah.
This movie would go on to make $194 million on a $215,000 budget.
Yeah.
It has 68 on Metacritic from critics and a 6.4 from audiences, and it has a 2.9 average on Letterboxd, which seems kind of low. But also, like, I get it.
I
feel
Go
like
ahead.
with Letterboxd, you get that, I mean, there's like a recency bias thing where if people are logging it on Letterboxd, they're logging it well after the film had come out.
Yeah.
And it's one of those movies, and so many horror movies especially kind of suffer from this, which is when you see them at the time they're released, they seem huge and monumental and like earth-shattering because they're doing something you haven't really seen before in some way. And then all of a sudden you get a ton of imitators, a ton of people building off that.
Right.
And then when you go back and watch the original after having seen the imitators, you're like, well, what's the big deal?
Yeah, it's also an osmosis thing too, where like if you just exist in the world, you have gleaned Paranormal Activity as a movie, right? So like you feel as you said, the imitators and the what have you. It is, I mean, Emily, you saw this at the time, right? You saw this in theaters. So I mean, it was seismic. I obviously knew of this movie. This movie was a phenomenon, for lack of a better way of putting it. But do you think that was this sort of like a generation's Blair Witch?
I think this movie made found footage a sustainable thing. Because there are many films that are trying to be Blair Witch after Blair Witch, and they all kind of fail. Blair Witch can't ever be Blair Witch again. Weirdly, another found footage franchise that introduces time travel in later films. What is it about
True story
found footage and time travel?
I don't know.
It's so I think, and then Cloverfield in 2008 is very successful, but also costs a lot of money and is not as successful as I think they wanted it to be. Costs a lot in found footage is very relative, like it didn't.
Well, it's like what the fuck was what was the oh my god the movie about it was sort of about superheroes. Chronicle.
That's a little bit later. I think that's 2012.
But another
yeah.
one.
And Rec was around the same time, wasn't it?
Rec, yeah. And like that
VHS,
was another one.
Wasn't that also one?
Where VHS is a little different because it's like the tapes, so it's an anthology. But yeah, Rec's a good one. The American remake of that didn't do very well, but like the original is like hugely influential in the horror community. I wanted to do that instead of this, but Phil wouldn't let me.
That one is much scarier. Scarier.
I mean, there was not a letting, to be clear here.
No. But yeah, this movie, like, I think what this movie does is it gets back to Blair Witch basics. When you watch Cloverfield, you're watching actors. This movie does the thing of being like the character's name in this and all subsequent movies is Katie Featherston, to a degree that I think she's a very good actor, to a degree that I think it's hurt her career to some extent, because like she kind of can't be in other things because her name is the name of this iconic horror franchise villain. And like,
It's true.
but yeah, I think this movie takes found footage and kind of like codifies it as like a thing that you can do and keep doing. And I also think the big thing that happens between Blair Witch and this is suddenly everybody has a camera in their hands all the time.
Yeah.
And Cloverfield is the first movie to really capitalize on that.
Mhm.
Mm.
And like the big question everyone has in every one of these movies is why do they keep filming? And like, go ahead.
Oh, this is my thing about found footage, right? The formal setup necessitates that someone is filming all the time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
When you think about the type of person who's filming all the time, means is that you are spending the entire runtime of the film with the most annoying character possible.
Yep.
This is true of Blair
Yep.
Witch. It's true of this movie. Like I think Rec kind of sidesteps that one because it's like, okay, there's a reason they're filming.
Yeah.
It's for a newscast, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the smart thing about the sequels is again they get away from there's somebody holding the camera. To some extent it's true there's a bit of it in the third one, but the third one is much more mounting cameras throughout the house. That becomes kind of the idea. The fourth one is like someone has hacked into all their laptop cameras and is like using those. It's very like
I
ornate,
it,
but
it is interesting, like the Blair Witch of it all, and we talked about this on our Blair Witch episode, but I mean, it's worth sort of talking about again of just sort of the personalities of those three kids are really sharp. They feel really different to each other. They don't, you know what I mean? And I feel as though there's an I don't want to, this is going to sound like I'm slagging this movie, but I do think there's an artistry to Blair Witch that this movie doesn't totally have. Um I think that, and I think it's intentional to some degree, right? We're talking about sort of like, Ori's shitty house, and or is it Ori? Is that his name? Oren?
Oren,
Oren.
Oren.
Oren,
Um there is something about sort of being in this bland house with this somewhat bland couple, whereas being in the woods with these kids on film, there's an intangibility. That movie feels like a film. This feels like a movie. I know that sounds, shitty, perhaps. I don't mean to be looking down my nose at this movie, but do you know sort of what I'm getting at? That like Blair Witch feels elevated in a way that this movie doesn't totally.
I think the secret sauce of Blair Witch is they hated each other, the
Sure,
actors.
sure,
Like
sure.
this movie, Katie and Mika, from all
Yeah,
accounts, seem to kind of get along and seem to
yeah,
like have like they have to because they have to have chemistry. And like I more or less buy that they're in love until like halfway through the movie when I'm like, just go, come on, just
I,
leave.
I, I literally have in my notes, girl, you're not even married, just leave.
Yeah,
yeah. It's interesting because like one of the things that hit me watching this was they do seem like a very believable couple,
Mhm.
right? Like that's a hard thing to pull off more times than not in horror movies. Relationships ultimately aren't that important when
and
everything
like
is said and done.
they're both very attractive, but they're very attractive in a normal way. They
Yes.
look like an attractive couple you might see at the mall in like
Yeah.
Chicago, you know? Like
Yeah.
it's
She
not that
she looks
Hollywood pretty.
she looks almost exactly like an old coworker of mine, and I found that intensely distracting for about the first 30 minutes or so.
Was your coworker possessed by a demon?
Not to my knowledge, but I've also lost track of her,
Oh,
so who's to
okay.
say?
Hmm.
I guess I just sort of was like, it, this movie in a weird way almost felt like a Mike Lee movie to me.
Sure.
Like
Sure.
just of the relationship, and clearly, like, as we'll talk about in terms of the production of this movie, this was sort of very free form. There was a lot of there was a script, but it was really kind of more of a format that they kind of played with. And obviously, Emily, you referred to the ending, which we'll talk about. Like, I think that all of that gives that relationship um a sort of a real kind of genuine quality to it that I was surprised about. Even if I do think that Mika's a tool, I do
Yeah.
think that like she, I, it really hinges on Katie because she's the most on screen, right? I mean, she's the one that we're filming most of the time, and and they really stumble. I don't want to say stumble, but kind of stumble upon a tremendous actor. I think Katie's really good in this movie, and you really feel for her. You believe her. Um, that to me is the secret sauce to all of this. I think that
Yeah.
without that, I don't know that this movie could live just purely based on aesthetics and vibe.
I think this movie was more successful than Blair Witch financially.
Mm-hmm.
And like I think the reason it Blair Witch, of course, very quickly got dinged with you don't see anything. You know, people couldn't kind of handle its big conceptual leaps, which are less conceptual and more they had no money. But you kind
Yes,
of know
yes,
what I
yes,
mean.
yes, yes.
And like the thing about this movie is I think its central metaphor is
Mm-hmm.
really smart. This is a movie about moving in with someone for the first time and realizing all the things you don't know about them on both sides. She
Yep.
doesn't realize what a tool he is, and he doesn't realize that she's being chased by like a millennia old demon. And who hasn't been there?
We all have baggage.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah, but I think that like
Yeah,
the key too
I
is
do
that
think that. Yeah,
go ahead.
no, please, please, Emily, no, please.
Oh, I think that the key to that relationship being sort of more believable and lived in too is that he is shitty, but he's shitty in a very like pedestrian way. He's it's a very recognizable type of guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like the fact that like in the
Yes.
very, very early stages of this, he's the one who's like, yeah, we're gonna get this on video. She's like, would you put the camera down? And he doesn't, of course, but he's the one who's really gunning for them to get footage of this on camera.
Yes.
And then she's the one who's like, hey, my keys were on the counter and now they're in the middle of the kitchen floor. Like, that's weird, right? And he's like, you're just being silly. I'm sure they just fell. And it's like the immediate switch back to just not believing her, even though he really ostensibly wants to find this, is like, oh, I
Yeah.
completely understand what type of man this is.
It's not immediately clear why he wants to film this. You know, like it is in the back of your head, you're like, yeah, if you captured evidence of a ghost or a demon on camera, like you would be able to sell that footage for a lot of money. But like he doesn't bring up financial incentive. He's not like I'm a documentarian or whatever. Weirdly, this is another thing they backfill in the second movie where he's like over at her sister's house and sees her brother-in-law's camera and it's like that's a cool camera. Tell me, and like they kind of like fill in that he's like kind of a
Oh.
wannabe filmmaker. And but
Oh.
yeah, it is very like the degree to which this film attempts to establish why they're filming things is just sketchy enough to like kind of work.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Because like Blair Witch, you're very much like, yeah, they're making a documentary. So like ostensibly that's why they're, but there is a point where you're like, they would probably stop making the documentary, right? And like this movie like roots it
Yeah.
in character a little bit more while also not explaining things so thoroughly that you feel like it kind of like you kind of buy throughout that he keeps filming, even though I'm like, my man, you are
Well, it,
losing the best thing that's ever happened to you to a demon.
I
He's
do
just
think
offering her up.
there is a lot of like kind of I mean toxic masculinity baked into the filming as well, right? There's this possessiveness, there's this I can fix it, there's this I can protect you, there's all this kind of like shitty gender role stuff that Mika is doing that I think
Mhm.
is feeds what you're talking about, Emily. Like, yes, it's a little thin that he keeps filming, but there's
Yeah.
this kind of like control that he's got by
Mhm.
filming that I think is baked into this, which I think helps,
I
but does
feel
make
like
him shitty.
The flat refusal to let her call the demonologist, like
Yeah.
repeatedly. He's like, no, absolutely not. Like, I'll handle it.
Yeah.
I
It's a lot
don't
of I'm not asking for directions.
I don't know how old you are, Emily, but I'm assuming you're in the rough range of Phil and I, which is late Gen X, early millennial. Like that
I'm
vibe.
solidly mid millennial. I'm
Great,
38. Yeah.
perfect, perfect. So like there is a thing that I think, and I sort of alluded to this earlier, there does become a thing in the late 2000s that is like these kids won't put down their damn phones. They keep filming everything. And so like the further we get from Blair Witch, the more I'm like, oh yeah, of course everyone's filming everything all the time. Like the degree to which our entire entire political movements have been born off like cell phone footage that somebody probably shouldn't have been filming. And granted, those are like very important moments that should have been documented, not just I fall asleep every night and somebody drops my girlfriend's keys on the floor. Like, but it is a little, always a little bit more believable that someone is just
Yeah.
like pointing their phone at a thing. And I
Yeah.
keep feeling like we're in a moment when found footage should come back, because it does feel
Yeah.
like we have this new relationship. Found footage tends to pop around when we have a new relationship to video in
Hmm.
some capacity. And we certainly like, it would almost have to be filmed vertically, which is going to make me hate myself. But like, you kind of like,
Yeah.
yeah,
What if it's all on Ring cameras?
Ugh.
there you go. That's perfect. Like,
It is interesting. Like, did you see Searching?
yes,
The
No.
John Cho, the whole movie takes place on a computer
yeah,
screen, so it's
mhm,
just all cameras. And as you can imagine, it's pretty sweaty at times in order to
yeah,
keep us on a computer screen. But for the most part, I was surprised by how much I enjoyed that movie.
yeah.
And I do think that yes, there's a TikTok movie probably somewhere in our future. Um, but your point is true, Emily. If the whole thing is vertical, I don't know that I could watch a whole movie of that.
I
No.
think like there's just so many people
Bring
who
back Quibi.
Right?
I think there's just so many people who are like watch everything that way now. Like somebody I know who worked on Yellow Jackets in season 3 is now filming vertical videos, vertical like dramas, basically, is a director of them. And to me, it sounds awful, but also like one thing about why I think the looking for things on a laptop subgenre stalled out, which includes like Unfriended, and some of these other movies, is the kids, they don't use laptops, they use
Mhm.
their phone. The thing is like,
Yeah.
what the problem is, you need to capture the relationship. I'm holding up my phone, oh look, there's my
Hmm.
kid.
Yeah.
When you like, you need to capture the relationship we have to our phone in a found footage movie, and like that's necessarily not really going to look like a movie. So I'm like curious how that would work, but
And then there's also, I
Yeah.
mean, I would be remiss not to mention Host, which came out during, peak pandemic, and the whole thing is a Zoom video
Hmm.
yeah.
chat.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Like really effective, also very short, like very, very tight.
yeah,
I think you
yeah.
have to be with these things. Like, I mean, this movie's what, 88 minutes or something like that?
Yeah,
Like,
Mhm.
85,
it's,
85.
yeah,
It's, and like it doesn't have credits, which I always
no,
find interesting. I don't
yeah,
know, but
Well,
you
it
yeah,
know,
also, there's no like production company card at the in the
no,
opening sequence. It's just that title card about, the producers would like to thank the family of, Mika and
yeah.
Katie.
I mean, it is. I don't mean to keep talking Blair Witch, but it's kind of impossible not to. I do think that Blair Witch, notoriously, you know, its marketing, all of it was about this being a real thing, and this was a real documentary, and these kids really went missing, and all that sort of stuff. Which I think at the time, in the sort of nascency of the internet, was a real boon, right? It was like a
mhm,
real kind of, you couldn't do the deep dive and all that sort of stuff, not to the same extent, and it was all just really new. And it's interesting how new this felt in '09 to people. 10 years later after Blair Witch, it is just interesting because it doesn't feel that different, and yet it is.
what's I think, again, I think our relationship as a society had changed to the camera, but also like this is filmed in 2007. Like it's set in
Yes.
2006, then it's
Yeah.
they kind of sit on it for a while
Yeah.
figuring out,
Yeah.
because the original ending, I went and watched all of the endings also,
Hmm.
and the original ending is good, but
Yeah.
also it's like very grim.
Yeah.
And like this, the ending of this is grim, but it's quite quite fun grim. Like you're
Yeah, it
watching it and
ends
you're
on
like,
a scare. It doesn't end on like
Yeah.
a devastating,
yeah,
Yeah.
death.
yeah, yeah. She dies by the cops shoot her in the original,
Right.
and
Right.
in the alternate ending that they shot, because they shot two new
Uh-huh.
endings when they were like the alternate ending is she uh dies by suicide. But like, so this is the one where they're like, well, we got to keep her alive, which I think say in many ways makes the franchise what it is.
Hmm.
And
Although,
it was
yeah, go ahead.
Spielberg who suggested this ending, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's also
Although,
just the fact that it goes fully supernatural, right? That we get
Yeah,
like a monster at the end, I think also saves you. You
yeah.
talking about like these really grounded terrestrial, sad, grim endings, as opposed to like monster jumps at the screen is just like it's the right ending.
I
Yeah.
think there's no franchise. So famously, John Carpenter thought Halloween should be like basically every film there's a new monster or whatever.
Mhm.
And they tried to do that and everyone was like, where's Michael Myers? This movie's so deep into its mythos that probably they can't do this, but like it has such a generic title. They
Yeah.
should just do one where they're hunting Bigfoot or where
Yeah.
they're, going after UFOs. Like
Yeah.
Oren Peli, I think, directed one other film, which is called Area 51, which is exactly that. And it's like, why not just like, why not expand this beyond demons? Because
Yeah.
the demon mythology is really holding them back at this point.
Mhm.
The one about the Amish, which apparently has nothing to do with these movies, like
Yeah.
is still doing demons. Why didn't they just be like, oh, there's
Yeah.
ghosts, Yeah, I think.
I
Go
go,
ahead.
go ahead, sorry. No,
The
keep
one
going.
other thing about this movie is it has invented one reason its impact is now blunted a bit is it has invented an entire subgenre of YouTube, TikTok, etc.,
Mhm.
which is I have a ghost in my apartment. And if you have seen this movie, you're like, oh, you have also seen Paranormal Activity. Thank you.
Right.
But it'll be like, oh, this chair turned around in the dark.
I do think that this like I would argue that one of the sort of the more brilliant things about this movie is its aesthetic, is sort of the limitations that it does lean into in
Mhm.
really smart ways. Ebert in his review said that it illustrates one of my favorite points that silence and waiting can be more entertaining than frantic, fast cutting and berserk visual effects. For extended periods here, nothing at all is happening, and believe me, you won't be bored. And I think that one of the things that this movie does as well is it has a central light source
Mhm.
which blacks out the periphery, which creates so much more tension because you can't see, I would say probably half the screen is blacked out. So you're on edge, just wondering what's gonna come out of the darkness. And more times than not, it's nothing.
Mhm.
But your imagine like this movie is just really leaning into what your imagination will do, what the audience will imagine and fear and think about coming out of the darkness. Also, very unsettling to just watch people sleep. There's something so unnerving about how what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, you know,
Vulnerable.
yes, vulnerable you are when you're sleeping. That idea of just like every day we just shut down and put ourselves out there and anything can happen is terrifying.
I
Yeah.
love watching people sleep. I
Of
do it
course,
all the time.
of course you
I
do.
stand at the side of the bed and just watch my wife sleep for hours on end. She loves it. It's
She
fun.
loves it so much, I bet.
She
Yeah.
she wakes up and
Yeah,
she's like, "There you are." I'm like, "Yes, go back to sleep." I
there
actually
you
do
are.
watch my kids sleep, not for
Sure,
not for like hours at a time, but that
sure.
is that is like
Well, because that's comforting. She's
it
like not,
is.
they're not
Yeah, it's
bothering you.
comforting and it's just like, "Hello, how are you
Yeah.
tonight?" And
Look at
put
this
my
person
hand
I
there.
made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it is, but also like, presumably somewhere in the fog of sleep, they're feeling
Mhm.
me stroke their back or whatever.
That's nice.
Libby just likes to be watched, so I try to.
Oh, that's nice. That's romantic.
Yeah.
Um, I do think that um the limitations of the budget, and there's
Mhm.
lots of movies that this has been an advantage for rather than a disadvantage. I mean, there's all sort of Jaws, for instance. There's all sorts of movies where like the thing didn't work, or we don't have the money to do X, so we're going to come up with a. And I feel like more times than not, it's a reliance on the audience doing work for you a little bit, right? Like you're teeing them up to come up with stuff on their own that will entertain them in a weird way, which I think is kind of funny. It's like the
Right. It's like a
movies doing, yeah,
creative prompt.
yeah, which I think is interesting. And I think a lot of horror movies do that. A lot of horror movies go the opposite direction, which is gore and monsters and all that. But I think that the ones that rely on its audience to sort of do some work are perhaps more exciting. I think Blair Witch is another example of that. A lot of found footage movies do that a lot, but um, I do sort of I want to. So Katie Featherston is in Big Little Lies, and that's kind of her only other credit.
Yeah. And I did a deep dive on her Insta last night, and she does so many conventions. She like probably is doing okay for herself. I
I'm sure these movies
yeah,
did just fine for her, right?
I like, and yeah, like it's the sort of situation where she probably never has to work again, but you like watch this movie and you
Yeah.
see both of them. Mika writes like D&D modules now, which is very funny to
Yes.
me. But like you watch this movie and both of them have like a very winning quality. You could imagine her
Yes.
like being the fourth or fifth build on a sitcom. And like,
I was
like
just gonna
just
say, like, yeah,
I like
she's got a like a TV, like she seems like your friend, you know?
Mhm.
yeah, I like have a I want to work with her now. I'm like,
There you go.
let's just put her in a thing. Let's make her like
Get her on Yellow Jackets. Come on now.
yeah.
Hell
There
yeah.
should just be a yellow jacket named Katie. We've never mentioned
Yeah.
before, who is Katie from the Paranormal Activity
Yeah.
franchise, which is owned by Paramount, which owns Showtime. So I think we can
There you
make
go.
this happen. I'm
She just walks out of the woods one day. She's
texting
like, "Hey,
Ashley
I'm
right now.
Katie. I'm Katie.
Everyone's like, "Oh, Katie, right?"
Katie's back."
That would be great. Everyone
You're
would
right.
love that.
Everyone would love
The
it.
fans would not freak out at all. They
Not
would
at
not be
all.
like, "Why are you doing this?"
Why has this happened? Yeah, I think that I don't know. I wonder if I don't know if this was just an example of, and this does happen a lot in horror movies, and you can you Emily obviously know this better than I do. Um, that people get stuck in these franchises,
Mhm.
or you know what I mean, like even a Jamie Lee Curtis struggled for a while to get out of the box of Halloween to some degree, and then ran back into the box with open arms when lots of money came her way many years later. But I do think that it's just sort of interesting, and I'm curious as to why you think this happened, both of you, since you obviously know the genre better than I do, of just this association that people have a hard time breaking when it comes to horror movies. Is it because it's so visceral? Is it because we feel this sort of like emotional tether that we can't sort of that we can't break or something?
I'll Emily, if you want to
Yes.
dive in, but I think I have an answer. And again, I think I'm just going to keep saying this. I think it is our relationship to filming and being filmed.
Mm.
Mm,
Every time it changes, found footage takes off because we suddenly have a new like fear, deep subconscious fear. Is somebody going to catch me at the wrong time? Am I going to see something on camera? You mentioned ring cameras earlier, Emily. One of my favorite things to do is watch just scary ring camera footage on YouTube. And I
Mhm.
know a lot
what?
of it's probably staged. Like I know a lot of it is probably like I hired my friend to like be creepy and then I
Sure.
know this will go viral. But it's so convincing because it's like a format I haven't been scared in before. And you watch it enough times and you get sort of inured to it. But I think it is something to do with art because found footage kind of fell off for a while. We haven't had a big found footage movie in a bit. All horror is cyclical. All horror is, we just talked about Saw, and torture porn was such a response to the George W. Bush administration,
Yeah.
our policy in the Middle East, the fact that we were torturing people, like this
Yeah.
sublimated cultural desire to talk about these things and not really being able to. This is very much, I think, a sublimated desire to talk about the ways that we're all being filmed all the time and we don't like it. I think yeah, I really think that found footage feels visceral because it taps into a fear we all have all the time. And the
Mhm.
more that fear retreats to the back of our brains, the less found footage works. But now that like especially now that we're not entirely aware how much we're being surveilled by like Peter Thiel, like,
Well, that's a whole other thing.
yeah, like
Yeah,
this
yeah.
feels like a good time for found footage to come back. I'm going to start writing a screenplay while you two talk. So,
Do that. Do that.
Yeah, no, I mean the surveillance state has taken on a totally new valence in the last 5 years, in the last 10 years, in
Sure.
the last 20 years, it's a totally different world now than it was when, Blair Witch happened.
mhm,
Um I think in terms of what you were talking about, Philip, about actors kind of getting stuck in these franchises,
Sure.
I think that that's part of the double-edged sword of trying to cast an unknown and then
Yeah.
having them have this incredible breakout role in a smash hit, in an incredibly commercially successful franchise. And I think, just from a personal standpoint, if you stand to make a bunch more money sticking with that franchise and you're someone who's been basically like lifted out of obscurity by that success, like what are you going to do? Say no?
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
and
Yeah.
then, and then there's also you just kind of get typecast. And especially when I mean, like with the Blair Witch cast, when they're using your real name, you are kind of like it's
Yeah.
like telling a fairy your true name, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Well, that was in particular for them. I think that, I mean, there's three elements. I think that, and I say this with love, they weren't the greatest actors in the world. I don't mean to be shitty, but like, so there's that. But then on top of it, as you were just saying, the curse and blessing of it being them was mixed into all of this as their actual names. Um, yeah, I mean, I feel like Heather Donahue kind of sort of had a little bit of a career, right? Off of Blair Witch. I feel like she was in a couple
She was in a
things,
few things. Yeah.
but yes, it's tough.
Now she's a
Yeah, I mean,
cannabis farmer, I think.
oh, good for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it is. I think you're absolutely right, Emily Hughes. That there is, not that Emily St. James is wrong. I think that there is this sort of, when you're scouring for actors at scale or less than scale, if you're making this movie, for instance, and you're just sort of hoping to find a diamond in the rough, or catch lightning in a bottle with, and those careers don't always blossom into something else. It
Mm-hmm.
is sort
Yeah.
of a horror
I
trope.
I mean, yeah, I obviously I cast a podcast many years ago, and podcasts
Mm-hmm.
are so reliant on found audio basically as a subgenre, because nonfiction is the dominant form of storytelling in podcasts. To make a fiction podcast, you have to sort of trick the audience into thinking they're listening to a nonfiction one, which is, even if they're constantly aware it's fiction, you have to
Sure.
adopt the trappings of nonfiction podcasting.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, there are a lot of people in that world who come in, they do a thing with their own name, and then that's kind of just where their careers stall out. And, like, that's fine. What's interesting to me about Paranormal Activity is it has a really good track record of launching actors who become big things outside of this movie, where
Mm-hmm.
Katie and Mika are kind of just always going to be Katie and Mika. Like Molly Ephraim, an actor I really love, is in the
Mm-hmm.
second one.
Yep.
Catherine Newton, who obviously is like now a
Yep.
star, is in the
Yep.
fourth one. Like there are a lot of actors in these movies who went on to at least have careers, if not
Yeah.
big careers, except Katie and Mika are forever Katie and Mika. And I do think it's because they use their own names. I genuinely think that's like kind of the most of it.
It certainly feels like that's part of it, for sure. I also just think that we're now very savvy. And by that, I mean actors and representation and whatnot, where like, I think people know the landmines now in a way that maybe they didn't 10, 20, 30 years ago in the same way. Like, I think that, even look at Chronicle, right? Which admittedly was different, but still found footage and higher budget to some degree, whatever. There were careers that came off of that. I mean, basically, big careers came off of that. I think now everyone's tipped off and looking for this type of stuff in a way that they kind of like. When I look at how this film came to be, right? Like, they shoot this thing for close to nothing, and then basically they go to sort of, they go to, it screens at Screamfest Horror Film Festival. It impresses a couple agents from CAA over there. They put it on DVDs. They get it to Miramax Films, and Jason Blum was a senior executive over there. They do a re-edit. They submit it to Sundance. It's rejected. This DVD just kind of floats around and eventually gets to a DreamWorks executive, and then it works its way up. Spielberg sees it. They think it's something special, but they think that they actually want to use it as like a format to shoot a bigger budget version of it. They
Yeah, it was like a
screen,
proof of concept original.
right. They were like, oh, we'll use
Version of
this, and
it.
then right, which is understandable that DreamWorks would look at this and be like, well, I mean, we're not going to use this, right? Like, and They then screen it. They do a screening of it for just normal audiences, what have you, and people are leaving the theater because they're so stressed out by it, and they don't and they realize that they have something here and they don't need to reshoot it, and it then bounces around Paramount and DreamWorks because there's mergers and blah blah blah. And all this is to say that it kind of toils for a while, as Emily said. It's shot in '07, or it's shot in '07, but it takes place in '06, I think. Is that right? So
Yes.
it kind of kicks around for almost 3 years until eventually uh it's released by Paramount. And it's only because one of the DreamWorks executives became the head of production at Paramount.
Yeah.
And he's just like, oh, wait, this is something. Like, we can just, like, let's put this out. And it becomes this success.
I was like, my mom is in town, and I was telling my wife, I don't think we'll record that long. It's kind of a slight movie, but I'm realizing like how much, like so much about Paranormal Activity is everything that's not in the movie. The movie itself is very good. I have a very good time with it,
Yep.
but like you could describe its plot in a minute and be fine, like
Yeah, I mean, nothing really. I mean, not much happens in this
yeah,
movie. We'll talk about the plot points, but I do think that it is just it's so hard to explain because there's no real way to sort of understand how something like this happens. You've been talking about this, Emily, about this sort of the found footage of it all and technological advancements and whatnot, and how that's sort of why a new version of this will happen in some form or another. And I agree that that's true, but like you could never have known that this was going to pop off in the way that it did, which is why it sits around for a while, which is why I'm like, yes, there's some other iteration of this, but is it going to be a streaming thing as opposed to a theatrical thing? Is it going to, I don't know. Like it is that sort of the sort of, not to say the technological advancement, but like, is there some sort of a fusion that happens there that affords people to be able to kind of like, I don't know.
yeah, yeah. Hmm. I
I
like,
don't know. Yeah.
I think that, yeah, I think that there's something just about watching these two interact that sucks you into this movie. They're
Yep.
not like the world's most convincing couple, but there is something kind of like engaging about watching other people's vacation slides. Kind of.
Yes.
It has
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
vibe. There's a normalcy to it that makes it scarier,
Yep.
that I think is it sort of speaks to why the found footage works so well when it works, because you do feel like you are just trapped with these people watching this thing happen. I like also
Mm.
underrated factor in this movie's success. The sound design is pretty next level. Like it's
Mm.
so
It's
good.
incredible. Yeah. I mean, there's a not to harp on this too much, but again, budgetary limitations, they never show us really. I mean, they show us at the very end, but like we don't get a real sense of the monster or the demon. We'll see like footprints, like the
Mm.
footprints reveal in the baby powder is a great trick,
Yeah.
right? Like it's a real low budget smart trick. Seeing Katie pulled out of bed through
Mhm.
the doorway is a great trick, right? Like
And
I
even just the
it's
sheets being pulled off of Mika
yes,
while he
yes,
sleeps is like that's always such a good,
yeah.
effective, like
Low
simple move.
lo-fi, real scary, creepy, subtle stuff that feels plausible is the thing. Like all of this is plausibility. I think that that's part of why it scared the shit out of people, is that everyone could envision themselves in this scenario, because of the fact that it's noises you hear at night, it's creaking in your, I mean, like that's everyone lives with that.
And the
Yeah.
thing is, by the time it has escalated to loud shrieking in the middle of the night, it
Yep.
has escalated so gradually that it understands the have you ever had a ghost encounter or known someone who has, either of you?
Can't say that I've known someone who
Yeah.
who potentially has. Yeah.
Yeah, not personally, but I've known people.
I once took a photo that has like a ghostish thing in it, but
Oh
other
shit.
than that,
Okay.
I have not like had like, but there was a family in my town who had a house that was haunted, and it was like a
Mm.
single mom and her daughter, and like they had just gotten divorced, and it was like a classic setup for like a horror movie. But like their stories were like it's always an escalation. And like the logical explanation for that is that like your brain starts filling in gaps of like why is this
Yeah.
happening, and like starts to construct this larger narrative,
Yeah.
or it's just actually a ghost, which is the better explanation. But like it is the thing Paranormal Activity understands that many of the sequels do not is
Mm.
you got to start small. You got to start with there's a humming noise and the keys drop on the floor,
And the
and like
door swings open and then
yeah,
swings closed
Right.
again.
and it's
I
like
yeah.
none of it has an explanation, but you can create one in your brain easily enough. There
Totally.
was a window open somewhere, or like, a bird got in, all these things you can, yeah.
Like
I think also
I do live in a very old house. It's almost 300 years old.
oh wow.
Hello from
Mhm.
Massachusetts. We have those here. Um, and when we moved in, we were joking about it being haunted because how could it not be? And nothing has happened. I mean, we also have cats, so whenever there's a noise in the night, I'm like, oh, it's the
Mm,
cat.
sure.
Yeah.
But I was talking to a neighbor who's lived here for a long time, and I made a joke about, well, there's it's surprisingly unhaunted for being so old. And this man, deadly serious, goes, "Oh yeah, that was me. I'm an energy worker. I cleared it last year."
An energy worker?
Yeah.
That's a job?
I live in a very crunchy
Apparently.
area. I don't know.
That's
Oh,
amazing.
my,
I
I'm
love
current,
that.
I'm currently working every day, and the room I'm in is
Haunted?
I'm trying to not give away our location. It is in a very old building,
Mm-hmm.
and there have
Mm-hmm.
been like kind of like I walked past an office that was empty the other day and heard like a noise inside, and was like, so there have been enough incidents there that we kind of have like been like, is there a
Mm,
ghost? And like it's joking, but also
right.
that's where it starts. You're joking, is it a ghost, even though there's like 17 rational explanations, and then there's a kind of shared group thing that
Yeah,
sets in, even if it's
totally.
just two people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
like
oh yeah,
I
there's
love
the
that
ghost again.
premise.
Haha,
Yeah.
until there's no haha.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
And everyone's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's I think another part of this movie that works and speaks to the relationship and also unfortunately gender roles is Mika not believing
Hmm.
Katie, right? Like at first not believing her, not taking it very seriously. And
Mhm.
and I think there's a lot of that like quote unquote women are crazy
Mm.
thing that's kind of baked into this, which I think
It
makes us not like Mika but helps the movie.
it is, yeah, the gender of this movie is weird.
Mhm.
It is a very 2000s movie in that it understands men are trash, but it kind of can't get past, but women are demons. Am I right? Like,
Right, like this guy
Yeah.
sucks, but have you seen her? Like,
yeah.
And she's a demon. Yeah, no, I think that's very apt,
And
Emily.
it has like a great sympathy for her predicament.
Yeah.
mhm.
But
Yeah.
then the sequels are like, well, now she's a demon, so it's fine. And
Yeah.
like
Right.
I I watch this movie every time and feel very bad for her.
Hmm.
And it
Yeah.
makes the sequels, as much as I think some of them are better than this movie, it makes them a little bit harder to watch on that level, because you're like, well, this was just a normal person who had
Yeah.
her, ultimately the like lore and backstory of this franchise is that this like little girl encountered a demon, and then like a coven of witches came and like took her and like
Hmm.
turned her into a vessel so they could eventually find a boy child who they could like make. It's very Hereditary, but like, you
Yeah.
know
Yeah. Yeah.
oh, Phil, you've
I,
never seen
I
Hereditary.
I feel like
but I
there's
know what happens in her.
I feel like that's something that also happens in a lot of horror franchises where the first movie is like a pretty coherent, pretty distinct vision and story.
Right.
And it does well on its own merits, but then whoever makes the next movie, whether it's the same team or whether it's a whole new team, goes, "Oh, well, there was something in that I actually wanted to like take and run with on its own. And this happens with Saw. This happens with Friday the 13th is kind of the classic
Mm,
example. Jason Voorhees in The Mask is not in the first movie at all. And sort
mm.
of taking it and like reorienting the franchise in a slightly different direction with all the subsequent movies is kind of and it's almost like a horror trope of its own at this point.
Well, I think part of that, and I agree with you, but I think part of that has to do with the first one's a hit,
Mhm.
and in horror, franchises are everything.
Mm-hmm.
So the second one needs to build a big old sandbox, right? It needs to build a situation where they know they can milk it for
Right.
many movies to come.
The
So
Conjuring.
sure, I haven't seen any of the Conjurings, but I believe you.
Mhm.
I think that is key to sort of longevity, right? Is being able to sort of be like, in a weird way, the second movie of any franchise feels like the pilot of something to come, right?
Yeah.
Like the first one is sort of, oh wow, we struck gold, and then the second one is, how do we keep building on this?
Right.
If you, yeah, I hadn't really thought about it that way because we're in an era now where like we do treat the first movies of franchises as pilots. But like, yeah, Halloween 2 introduces Michael and Laurie are siblings. And Friday the 13th 2 is where like Jason first appears.
Shows
Like
up for the first time, yeah.
it is, yeah, it's such an interesting like way to think about franchise building. And like maybe that's why Blair Witch never became a franchise because that second movie
Yeah.
had no, for as much lore as they had no idea what to do with it, you know?
Mm-mm.
I mean, that is a, because we've seen many attempts to reboot that, right? Like we've seen a bunch of people try to take a whack at that because of its obviously the enormous success of the first one. I don't know. I don't know that like, I wonder if ultimately it really had more to do with sort of uh the bottled energy of that first one, and the actual documentary component of it was a little bit too hermetically sealed, and like the format itself wasn't as pliable as I think some of these other ones are. Like I
Mm-hmm.
haven't seen any more of these paranormal activities. So, and Emily, it seems as though they find ways to twist themselves into pretzels to make it work filmically, but like
Yeah.
the filmic language of Blair Witch was so sealed off
Mhm.
that it's like you had to send another documentary crew out there. Like and that's just never going to work.
Yeah, like the smart thing about Paranormal Activity, uh, accidentally smart, is you'll always have a reason to be filming inside your home. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like you can come up with 10 different reasons, and the
Yeah,
franchise has now used all of them. But
right.
like, you know, it gave them a lot more runway. And like the fact that the second one switches to surveillance cameras is so smart because it's like, oh, here's another reason. That's like where they kind of innovate as opposed to we're going to go find Bigfoot, which they should do. They
I'm
should do
I'm
that.
completely down for that. Can you
I'm
get
down for
Bigfoot
it.
into the next season of Yellow Jackets?
Yeah,
I mean,
we should.
you should.
Yeah,
I do
somebody
think
should.
somebody should. I
Gonna
do
text
think
my bosses.
texting your bosses. I do think that like, having not seen any of the other paranormal activities, as a just for what it's worth, I do think that what works about this is that we don't see the creature, right? Like
Mhm.
and I think that, and I don't know how many monsters we see in future iterations of this franchise.
Zero.
Oh,
You,
okay. I like that.
I
Okay.
watched a video last night that was like, here's the complete timeline, just because I
All right.
wanted to know what happened in later
Sure.
films.
Sure.
You kind of see something in like the ghost dimension. Like that's the one where they
Okay.
kind of because
Okay.
it's in 3D. And
Ah,
like,
mhm. And
but
they couldn't resist.
yeah,
Amazing.
but like the other ones, the monster's Katie, you know, when
Right.
she
Right.
pops up, you're like, but she's kind of a slasher movie monster, so
Right.
it's like, or you know, a little more like Mrs. Voorhees or whatever. And
Or Jigsaw.
yeah, and like not quite Jigsaw, but yeah,
Okay.
that vibe. She's
Okay.
like the best thing about the fourth movie, which I think is kind of a huge mess, is that she pops up as like a mom next door. And like that's such a
Okay.
smart use
Yeah.
of that character because that's
Sure.
what she looks like. She looks like
Yeah.
a mom. And it at that because by that point she's, like almost 10 years older. So it really works well in that regard. But yeah, it's they don't have monsters, and I think that's a very
Yeah,
smart
I
thing.
think that's really smart.
Mhm.
So at one point, Katie and Mika call Dr. Fredericks.
Mhm.
He's a psychic.
Yeah.
He's great.
Uh,
I loved him. When he comes back and is like, I gotta get the fuck out of here.
He just like Grandpa Simpson's right back out of there.
It's fucking incredible. They call him. He's like, you know what? Bad juju. Gotta go. This is all bad. I shouldn't be here. I think is hilarious.
I'm pissing it off by being here. I
Yeah,
gotta go.
it's like you guys don't want me here, and then the demonologist is like out of town, so
Well,
they
didn't
can't even get
they
him.
filmed something with the demonologist and then
Oh,
they
okay.
like cut it from the movie entirely?
That makes
I
sense.
may be misremembering that.
No, that sounds right.
uh,
I yeah, I think that's amazing. Dr. Fredericks is phenomenal.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
give him
I
he should have been nominated for an Oscar.
He's so good, and it does feel like when he comes back,
Yeah.
they had like it all. It does almost feel like they hired an actor to play the demonologist. He couldn't make it that day, and so they were like, "Hey, can you come in again?"
Yeah.
And just
No,
like,
whatever you're wearing is fine.
Uh,
Come on.
it's just it's fantastic. It really is. I mean, yes, go ahead.
is your energy healer Dr. Fredericks? Emily, have you? Is that who it is?
I've never seen them in the same room.
There you go.
Ooh,
Who knows?
there we go.
I do like Katie standing next to the bed and then just like the clock just whizzing forward by 2 hours.
That is so often cited as the biggest scare in the movie, and I have never found it. It's
It's
unsettling.
unsettling.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that my favorite scares are
Yeah.
always when you hear something coming up the steps and you
Yes.
don't see it. That's what always gets me in this.
It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the shadow moving across the door was, I think,
Mhm.
my best scare in this.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm trying to think of what scared me the most. I mean, I think I probably I mean, obviously there's a jump scare at the end of him being thrown at the camera. Um, which you know, obviously it's a jump scare. But I also just think like um her being pulled out of the bed was great
Mhm.
because it's done really quickly. So it's done like really I actually wonder how they did that.
I read that actually.
Oh, please.
They had one person hauling her out of the bed sort of sideways, toward the side of the
Okay.
screen, as it were. And then they had someone else with a different like tether pulling her out into the hallway, and then they just kind of stitched those together.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
It's done
sped it up.
seamlessly. It
Yeah.
looks great.
It looks terrific.
It looks really good. And again, like I just love how lo-fi that is. Like today it probably would just be CG, right? I mean, I'm assuming they just do it that way.
Yeah, that is one thing that like eventually this franchise has more CG stuff, and it just like that kind of
Take
like when I was watching clips from the Ghost Dimension, I was like, do I need to rethink my plan to watch all of these because they're all very short, and it's like almost October. As we're recording this, it's almost
Yeah,
October.
it's
I'm like,
almost
why
October.
not?
It's spooky season.
And the first three are good. That's a really nice
Mm.
little trilogy, and then it's like, got to keep
What
going.
is your favorite horror franchise, Emily?
Me, gosh,
Emily St. James, and then I will ask Emily Hughes.
yeah, I think probably what's the one where I there's like basically no movies I dislike is
Yeah.
Scream. It's not my favorite
Sure,
franchise because
sure,
like
sure,
the
sure.
heights of that are not as, but like
Yeah.
the only one in that franchise where I'm like I didn't like that is three. And it has moments in it that I'm still like cool.
Sure.
Actually it might be The Exorcist.
I was gonna
Oh
say,
wow.
Yeah, like
Okay.
that has some real lows, but the
I was
highs
gonna
are
say,
so
like,
high.
wasn't the new one really bad? Believer.
Yeah, I never saw that one, but like I've seen all the other.
So
I've
you
seen all
haven't
the
seen the
other
entire
ones,
franchise.
and like it is such a like it's kind of a director's franchise because you can
Mm.
kind of come in and be
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna just tell a story about a demon, and you have to have Pazuzu in there and just be like, and
You
that's
gotta
kind of
pop
it.
up.
Yeah, yeah. He's got a pop up
Do a little
going.
Pazuzu cameo.
Yeah.
He makes his Pazuzu face.
Is that yours as well, Emily Hughes?
You know, it's definitely in the running, but I think my actual answer is probably Alien.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
With like I'm a hard sell on franchises often just because I find the quality drop off in subsequent movies
Sure.
to be just like very disheartening. Um, I'm a sensitive baby, what can I say? But I think my like real heart of hearts answer has got to be 28 Days Later.
I
Mhm.
mean,
Oh,
I loved the new one.
can't wait for the
Mhm.
Bone Temple.
Oh my
Can't
God,
wait to
right.
go to the Bone Temple.
Whom among
Um,
us?
I don't love Weeks. It's fine.
You know, I'm a Weeks apologist. I
Okay.
I
Okay.
think that, you know, obviously it suffers by comparison against both its predecessor and its
Yeah. Yeah.
successor, but on its own merits, it's just a really good zombie movie.
Yeah.
All right.
I
I believe you.
like
Yeah.
I like all three of those movies to varying
Mhm.
degrees. I Alien's a great pick. For some reason, my brain wants to put Alien in sci-fi or action, which the first one is very horror. So like I don't know why my
Yeah.
brain does that.
You know,
Um,
I had when I was compiling, not to be like self-promo, but when I was compiling a list of movies for the book, I talked myself out of including Alien, and I have been kicking myself ever since. I don't know how I convinced, but I have that same association. I'm like,
yeah,
oh, it's space. You know, it's horror, yeah, but it's space.
yeah.
I think a lot of people make, I mean, your gut reaction is like horror isn't in space, weirdly. I don't quite know why that is.
Phil, I don't think this has ever come up before, so I'm guessing the answer is no. But do you play video games?
I don't really play video games. I don't have the attention
I
span.
think you should just play Alien Isolation and just
Okay.
it's basically your Ripley in the first movie and you have to
Well, that's fun.
skulk around a spaceship and the aliens coming after you.
Okay. Okay.
It's terrifying. It gets me. Like
Oh, well, then
it's
maybe I'm not going to do that
you
then,
should do
Emily.
it. You should do it is the thing that you should do.
You're a monster.
No, I love when a horror franchise, every movie's a little bit different. I think horror
Yes.
allows you that in a way that a lot of other genres don't. Another good one is George Romero's Dead series.
Hmm.
All those movies are very different. Some of them are not great, but like it's all of them are trying different things, making zombies different metaphors for aspects of American culture.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen a lot of horror franchises, or at least not the complete, all of them. Uh, a few years ago, on the previous podcast, we watched all the Nightmare on Elm Streets, and I got to say, they rip.
Mm-hmm.
Freddy, he's a stinker, and I like him.
He is a stinker. I
And
mean,
I
Did
think
you
he's great.
New
watch?
Nightmare, New Nightmare is a
Yeah,
Stone Cold
New Nightmare's great.
classic.
Yeah.
Did you watch?
The
Did
remake,
you watch the one with Rooney Mara?
I did. It's not very good.
Yeah, yeah.
I actually think that that's one of, because like you, I think we all remember when like Michael Bay tried to sort of Platinum Dunes did a bunch of these, right? They did the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and
Hmm.
and none of them really worked. Like they were all kind of like grim and ugly and in not fun ways.
Yeah.
Um, and it's a shame because Nightmare does feel like we're primed for a real Nightmare on Elm Street reboot. I feel like.
Yeah.
No.
See, now that you've said it, you've cursed us all.
Well, I don't know that it's going to happen. I just
Yeah,
is
you
it.
put it out into the universe.
I
I
think
just is it like Freddy's origin that is
no,
it's
I
not
think
great.
like honestly, I think part of the reason a lot of these movies can't really be rebooted is their horror is so rooted to current cultural preoccupations.
Hmm.
And Freddy is a response to Stranger Danger in the 80s that we
Mm-hmm.
kind of don't have today. Like you could do,
I don't know
obviously
about you, but I'm scared of strangers.
we're so like tapped in to we're
Mm.
like too tapped into ideas about child sexual abuse now in a weird way.
Yeah,
Like
I
the
like I
agree with that.
feel
Epstein
like if you
thing.
were to redo it, it would be like a Pizzagate Freddy Krueger
Yeah.
movie, and that's just I do not want that.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, MAGA Freddy.
no, that sounds awful.
Oh.
I'm kidding. I don't
No.
want that either. I yeah. I mean, it is interesting that like um whatever the next big, like I guess the Purge, which predates Trump, right?
Hmm.
Right? When
Yeah.
did the
Yeah.
okay.
The Purge West significantly predates Trump.
Okay.
Yeah.
but it now the purge feels like, well, it just feels like we're living in the purge sometimes.
Mhm.
It is interesting that I wonder if like the next big franchise, whatever, or the next big horror thing will be some sort of a reaction against what we're living in right now.
Well, this is what I worry about because, like, I trust Ryan Coogler as an artist to the ends of
Sure.
the earth, but his next
Sure.
project is an X-Files reboot. And the X-Files is really foundational to my, like, enjoyment of horror, to my engagement with horror, to, like, who I
Mm,
am as a person today. But, like, it's hard the reason the contemporary X-Files, like, sequel seasons didn't
mhm.
really work is
Revivals, if you will.
because, yeah, is because in the 90s the X-Files was so rooted in this like fringe conspiracy
Conspiracy.
theory world, and now we just live in that world. It's exactly what you were saying, and it's
Yeah.
like, okay, you can't really redo the X-Files without grappling with the fact that Mulder would be buying into some really shady shit that he found on some really shady corners of the web these days.
I I really like the second reboot season outside of the mythology episodes, because the second reboot season is the one season they made while Trump was president, and it is them being like, did we do this? Is this our fault? And like they're
Right.
grappling with it in an interesting way. But that's you kind of can only pull it into the text to that degree in a way that I think a reboot would struggle with. So often horror is talking about the things we're scared of that we're not talking about, and
Mm.
anticipates what we're about to be talking about, like X-Files did, or like Nightmare on Elm Street did. And so like the trick is to like almost not try to make it too topical and just like tap into the part of your brain that is
Yeah.
just like
Tell a story that scares you, because what
yeah.
scares you is what's in the
Yeah.
subconscious.
So that's why it's time to finally reboot the Prom Night franchise,
Oh, hell
Hell
yeah.
because
yeah.
I'm scared of prom. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Prom's terrifying.
Philip, back to what you said
It's
about like MAGA Freddy, or like,
mm.
a contemporary version of Freddy. I mean, we kind of have that, and it's Art the Clown from Terrifier, right?
yep. hmm
Oh,
hmm
interesting. I
Which
And
is
haven't
a
seen
movie
any of
also
you'll never
those.
watch, but
Yeah,
and
I've never seen
also
any of
with
those.
Nightmare on Elm Street with the original, originally Freddy was going to be like a sexual abuser.
Oh wow.
But Wes Craven changed it when there was a series of sort of high profile
Oh
like news
really?
articles about child sexual abuse, and he was like, I feel like it's going to be a little too exploitative, which, like, if
Huh.
Wes Craven is like, oh, maybe I should pull it back,
yeah,
um,
Yeah. That's
so he
yeah,
really
just
interesting.
changed it to being a
That makes
child
sense.
murderer because that's better.
that's so much better.
Yeah,
We
It
love when
is.
kids are
It
murdered.
worked.
It's fun.
it's
Yeah.
Yeah,
great.
no,
In this country we really do, apparently.
yeah,
Yeah.
we do. We
I don't
do.
know. I mean, I don't know what the next, I mean, obviously no one does, but just to see like the enormous success of this last Conjuring movie, right? Which did just enormous numbers. Seeing Weapons do crazy numbers. I
Hmm.
mean, obviously, horror is always going to get people in seats, and it is notoriously a relatively cheap genre to play in. So, you're from a budget perspective, it makes sense. Um, I mean, I don't know that. Do you think the Weapons, Emily's,
Mhm.
speaks to the moment we're in a
I
way?
wrote
I
a
think
whole
so.
piece about how it does.
Oh
Yeah.
Hell
yeah?
yeah.
Can people read that on your
Yeah, but you
Substack?
have to pay. You have to
Oh.
pay because
Oh.
it's every time I write about a thing that's like
Mhm.
in theaters or on
Yeah.
TV, I put it behind the paywall, both
Okay.
because then people pay me money, and also that makes it harder for studios to see it when they want to hire me for work. Um,
Both smart plays. Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
think Weapons is a movie about our sublimate. I think it's a movie about our sublimated knowledge that there is child abuse and child sexual abuse all around us, happening all the time, and we are not talking about it, and we're not thinking about it. And there's a house in your neighborhood that's wrong, and you walk past and you're like, something's not right there, and you're like, well, not my business. And like, it's a movie about that.
I
And
completely agree.
I agree. Yeah,
and
yeah.
like I was just like, this is just am I just reading this into it because of my personal history? And then I found out that Zach Kreger, when he was a teenager, a pastor at his church, was abusing kids, and did not abuse him, but like he was like aware of it and found out about it, and he has gone public with his accusations against this pastor, using like his new fame to sort of do good in the world. And he's also talked about having an alcoholic parent and how that sort of, but like, that's the thing. He sits down and writes. He doesn't think about any of this.
Yeah.
And then when the movie's made, he's like, huh, I guess that's in there.
Right.
And
You don't
like,
apply the critical framework and then write the story to the framework. You look at the story you wrote and then go, oh, that's where that came from. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and I think also, I mean, I don't know if you write this way, Emily. I certainly, I mean, I know that I'm not analyzing why I'm writing while I'm writing. I'm just happy that I'm writing, if that makes sense. Like if it's coming out and there's something, great, and then afterwards, I'll be like, oh yeah, that makes sense that I did
yeah,
that. You know what I mean?
yeah. I am kind of doing both simultaneously. Like I'm very good at tuning out of my subconscious and just letting it flow. But also, once I have a draft, I'm usually, because I've spent so long as a critic, I'm usually immediately tapped into what I was doing. And that
That
makes
makes sense.
revisions sometimes tricky or better, because like sometimes I can be like, oh, this is what was happening here. This is, I'm the novel I'm revising right now is broadly speaking a romance novel, but it is set in the present moment, and so like, or set in 2022. So like people are talking about like the rise of fascism and stuff, and like it was just
Huh?
like a thing that felt right to me, and now I have to be like, well, why was I doing? So like I think I kind of do both at once, which is such an annoying answer to that question.
No, no, no. I think that makes. I mean, it makes sense because of your past as a critic. I think that
Mhm.
that part of you can't turn that part of your brain off. Um, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that when I'm coming up with a pitch, I think I'm probably thinking, why am I?
yeah.
What is drawing me to this pitch? Right? Like, I think that that's part of it to some degree. But when it comes to the actual physical writing of it, I don't think I'm thinking.
Like obviously I write on Yellow Jackets now, and that show was one of the few things to ever scare me. Like the pilot of that really got under my skin, and it's been like many years of therapy that I sort of have realized why it did. And like, but the trick when I'm like in the room on that show is to like forget all the reasons it
Yeah,
scares me and
of
just be
course,
like,
yeah, yeah,
what if this happened,
yeah,
so
yeah.
like that is, horror is my favorite genre, and I also think I would kind of, because of how conscious I am of my motivation, sometimes I think I would struggle to write it.
Right.
But that doesn't mean I'm not going to try.
Mm.
Should we rate this movie, Emily?
Yeah,
Yeah, let's rate this.
yeah.
Um, I'd never seen it before, as I mentioned. I
Oh,
came into
Emily,
this
we
at
rate movies on a scale of 0 to
oh
99,
yeah,
0
sorry.
being or is it 1 to 99? I don't remember.
0 to 99, zero being the
0
lowest,
being the
99 being
worst,
the highest.
99 being the best, and sort of the rough demarcation of I would recommend this movie is 50. So if you're over that, you're probably are saying watch this, and if you're under, you're probably saying don't watch this. And yeah, I'm a harder grader than Phil. So
Yeah, it's Emily's critic side comes out when it comes to the ratings. I came into this at a 70.
hmm
Um, I think that I think I'll go up a little bit. I think I'm at like a 73 now.
hmm
Like I think that is it a movie that I'll ever go back to? I don't know. Is it a franchise I might continue? Possibly.
I think you should watch the first three.
Okay.
The
All right.
second one has had a bit of reappraisal in recent
Okay.
years as being like kind of an interesting story about
Sure.
um, living in a house where there's possibly domestic abuse happening. It's like a very metaphorical on that level. And the third one I think rips. So I think I watch those
I'll
three,
do it.
and then you
Okay.
could, and then you got to watch the ghost dimension. You got to go into the ghost
I got to
dimension.
the I have to go to the ghost dimension. All right. Um, Katie Hughes, where were you at the
Emily Hughes.
beginning? Oh my
Katie
Emily
God,
Hughes.
Hughes.
That's a new
Katie
one.
Hughes, Emily Hughes. Where were you when we started this podcast, and where are you now? Do you feel as though it's changed, or are you at sort of the same grade?
I think I'm at the same grade, and
Okay,
I think because I mean, I as I was looking back through my notes, on like, maybe 25% of the way through, I had
hmm
written down, I'm not really impressed yet. And at some point I turned to my husband and I went, does this get significantly scarier at some point? And he was like, I don't know, I've never seen it either. I was like, okay. Um, but by the end, I think the last thing I wrote in my notes was, well, that was fine. Um,
cool.
and I say this with the full knowledge that had I seen it in a theater, it would have been a very different experience, as we discussed. Because Philip, like you, I have that claustrophobia of
Yeah.
being subject to the projection and the space that I'm in. Whereas, the creature comforts of home, as I'm like sitting on the couch and I can get up
Sure.
and go get some popcorn or like grab my cat if I'm scared, very different experience.
Right. Right.
All of that said, I think my grade for this is probably a 57.
There you
Okay.
go. There
All
you go.
right. I can
Great,
handle
great
that.
use of the 50s. We don't use the
Yes.
50s
We
nearly
don't
enough
use
on
the
this
50s very
program.
much. We don't.
Yeah, this is like the
Um,
number we stay away from that whole range.
yeah.
I don't know why.
Uh, what
It's
about you, Emily St. James?
Emily Sejeu. Um, I first of all, we alluded to it throughout, but I do
Mm,
not think we need to just I need to just hammer home. Mika is a huge piece of shit.
Here.
And he's just like, you don't want me to get a Ouija board. Oh, but that's the only way we can talk to
I
this
know
thing,
it's so
baby.
dumb.
And you're like, no, go away. This is a very
Yeah,
nice young woman who's about to be possessed by a demon, and it's
Get
all
a
your
job.
fault.
Stay away from
Yeah.
her.
for real.
Yeah, I think one reason this movie was such a success is they had those commercials that were like night vision footage of people
Yes.
watching the movie in theaters and being whoa, ah, a thing that they brought back for like The Conjuring. They've brought it back for other
Yeah.
franchises, but this is where they kind and like that made you want to go see it in a theater. I saw it in a theater. I was like not I was scared by it. I was not that scared by it,
Right.
but like I got it. So I think in theaters I probably was it is a really good experience in theaters. It's like a 78, 79. At home, it's good. I have a good time with these movies. I do not knowing where this franchise goes, I don't think this one is at the level of the third one, but I still think it's fun. I think it's a
Okay.
fun movie. I think I'm gonna go like 71. It just,
There you go.
it's solid. It's a solid time. It helps that it's 85 minutes. Like,
It
not
really, I
gonna
mean, it
lie.
is, its length does certainly help it. Um, so next week we have a jarring shift in tone.
I think
Um,
this would make a perfect double feature. Phil, I don't know what you're talking about.
we are diving into Mike Nichols' Angels in America.
Oh my God.
Um, it is this Halloween.
Phil,
Yes.
why did we not call this Demons and Angels? This little
That
twofer.
was a real mistake on our
Demons and
part.
Angels.
Demons and Angels. Yeah, basically this miniseries slotted in and sort of was a break from our Mike Nichols miniseries. So we're diving back into Mike Nichols. We're doing the two parts. We're doing Millennium Approaches with Adam B. Vary, and then we're doing Perestroika with Joe Reed. Have you seen Emily Hughes? Have you seen Mike Nichols' HBO miniseries Angels in America?
Yes, and I love it.
Tremendous. It
Yes.
is hard not to love. It's a have you seen or read the play? I have never seen or read the play.
I have both seen and read the play. I
Oh
read it.
wow.
I saw the miniseries first when it aired.
Okay.
Um, I read the play in college
Mm-hmm.
for a class called, I went to NYU and the class was called Writing New York.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was all books, movies, plays, music in and about New York
Oh,
City,
okay.
which was great. And then I saw it on Broadway, the revival in 2018 or 2019 with Lee Pace,
Oh wow.
Andrew Garfield as Prior Walter, which is he tried so hard, but it was just not the right
That's hard.
casting. And Nathan Lane as Roy Cohn,
Oh
terrific.
wow.
Yeah. I
So
saw that production. Yeah.
how does it work? Is it both parts? How does it
It's
like
two parts. Yeah,
so
we
you're
you
so
had
it's
to
like
two different shows on two different days. You could
oh
do
okay. Okay.
on like a Saturday. I think you could go and do both parts, with a
I'm
full break in the middle.
Oh okay.
I'm not going to talk about this because I'm going to get to talk about.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
I saw both parts in the same day, and it
Oh
was
wow.
a transcendent, tremendous experience. And at the end of it, I was very hungry.
More life.
Yeah.
That's yeah. I mean, it is. I'm. It will surprise no one that I love this miniseries, and it was the impetus for us doing this miniseries. I texted Emily and I was like, can we please do Angels in America? I know we don't really do TV. And
He
Emily was like, yeah,
wanted
let's
to
just do
do
Mike
it in
Nichols.
all. He wanted to do it
Yeah.
in 6 episodes, and
Yeah.
because I always have the stage play on my brain before the TV show. I was like, well, it's two. It's two. Why
Yeah.
would we do six?
No,
And I think, yeah,
you were much smart. It makes total sense that you would do like, let's just do two parts. Um, but I was like, I really just want to do. I was like, I know we don't really do TV on this, and you were like, yeah, let's just do Mike Nichols, and I was like, great, and here
yeah.
we are.
It is one of my favorite TV shows, TV
Yeah,
things.
it's
I adore it. I haven't watched it in a long time, so I'm very excited to dive back into it. And then
as am I.
we get to talk about Closer, my favorite movie ever made.
Oh
And
my
Charlie Wilson's
God.
War, your second favorite film of all time.
I
I'm excited
you
for
know what?
Charlie Wilson's War.
That's gonna be my favorite of Mike Nichols' theatrical feature films from the 2000s when we get to the end of it. You know,
Oh, that's a low bar you've set.
it is a very low bar
That's
I've
a very.
set, but I
What
do
planet are
kind
you
of
from,
enjoy that
Closer
movie.
or Charlie Wilson's War?
I kind of enjoy Charlie Wilson's War.
I've only seen it once, which is why I'm excited to watch it again. I'm curious if like I'll like it more this time, or
I
maybe I
remember
won't.
really liking Philip Seymour Hoffman in
Yeah,
it.
he's. Well,
But
yeah,
I mean, when is that not
yeah.
a true statement, you know?
Amy Adams very good in it as well. I just
And
love my girl
Emily
Amy.
Blunt also in it.
Mike Nichols was like, I got to get everybody. This is my last one. I got to get everybody in there.
I don't think that's how he approached it. I don't think he knew it was his last one. But
Well, yeah,
maybe
because he
did.
had like a career on the stage for many years thereafter, so he was not aware he was dying. But I think
wasn't
deep
aware,
in the
but yeah.
heart, deep in his head, he knew he would
Mhm.
die someday, and he had to make one that had everybody in it.
I mean, I'm excited for this run that we're about to do for Nichols. I think it's going to be a wild ride. Knowing your impassioned feelings on Closer, that's going to be fun.
What if this is the time when I finally watch Closer and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I get it now, and I'm like,
And you're
I
like,
didn't
I
love
love
it,
it.
but it was a 68 instead
Yeah,
of.
yeah. Emily Hughes, tell people about your book and where they can get it and all that.
Well, thank you. Horror for Weenies. It is a primer to 25 of the most influential horror movies, starting in 1960 with Psycho and ending with Hereditary, actually. It is a fun and accessible guide for people who would rather read the Wikipedia plot synopsis than subject themselves to the experience of watching a horror movie. I myself have been disappointed by many a Wikipedia synopsis before I kind of regained my bravery as an adult. You can buy it at any fine book retailer and some of the less fine ones too. And if you are a horror fiction fan, you can find lists of all of the year's new horror releases at my website, which is readjumpscares.com.
Amazing.
It's a really wonderful book. I bought a copy for Phil and then gave it to someone else.
Well, thank you, and I'm sorry, Phil.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it again
Incredible.
because you deserve to have this book, Phil. But
I appreciate you're gonna buy it and give it to someone else again. That sounds
yeah,
great.
probably. Yeah, we got the holidays coming up, so
No, I listen. I'm excited to read it at some point. People should check it out. Are you on any sort of social media that people can be following you on? Is that something you do, Emily Hughes?
Yes, indeed. I am Emily Hughes bsky.social on Blue Sky, and I am at EMC Hughes 17 on Instagram, and I'm on Letterboxd, I think, just as Emily C. Hughes.
Okay, awesome. Well, people should follow you. They should check out your work. And thank you so much for coming on and talking about demons and shitty dudes.
My favorite two topics. Thank you both so much.
Yeah, I gotta say, demons and angels. We gotta make it happen.
We gotta figure that out. We gotta make that happen. All right. Thank you so much, Gabe. We'll talk later.
Bye.
Bye, Emily.